Hello, my name is Joey Garcia. I'm here with my group mates,
Katherine.
and
Ciel.
we are doing a presentation about the negative impact of linguistic supremacy. So I guess to start us off, we have some questions about names as well as microaggressions and things that we're going to talk about. We're going to open up with assumptions about our names. So Ciel, do you want to start us off with that?
All right, so our first opening question is: has anyone made assumptions about you or anyone you know based on names alone? To start us off, we can have Joey.
Yeah, sure. So I guess a relevant story I have about assumptions based on my name is a time when I was in middle school. I was in, I think, eighth grade. I was in English class, and we had a substitute teacher at some point. And she comes in, she's like naming everybody off. My name's Joey. If you guys couldn't see, I should specify that like on my birth certificate it says Joey, not Joseph or Joe or anything. Like the name is actually just Joey. On like the roll sheet, the substitute teacher would have read Joey, but when she got to my name, as she was reading people's names off, she said Joseph, and I just don't respond to that. Like it's not my name. I've never been called that by anybody. And she keeps saying Joseph, and I'm just like twiddling my thumbs, like it's just not clicking. That's my name. One of my friends has to speak up for me. My friend Lewis. He says his name is Joey. At that point, I turn around, I look at her, and she's like, "Your name is Joey." I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like. And she like kind of scoffs. I don't know. There's just this like disapproval in her face. And she tells me in a courtroom, would you rather be called Joey or Joseph? And then she's like, or Joe. I look at her and I'm like, Joey. And she's like, what? Well, that's not very professional. She makes some remark about like how it's not like Joey isn't professional enough or whatever. And my friend Lewis has to specify on his birth certificate, it says Joey. And she's like, oh. And she just moves on, goes on to the next person's name. I don't know, that's my experience. I wouldn't say it's invalidating. Well, I mean, I guess inherently it kind of is, but like, I didn't really feel bad about it. It's just like, I didn't even register Joseph, it's just not, I'm not going to let this old woman change my perspective on my own name. It was just pretty funny that like, my classmates, my friends stepped in and they're like, hey, it's just not Joseph.
That's so unprofessional.
It is, like a substitute teacher. Come on. So yeah, if anyone else has any stories, anything similar.
I can go next.
Sure.
So my last name is Gutierrez, which means I have a double R, and it gets changed a lot in just the way it's pronounced, just so it'll be easier to pronounce for somebody that speak other languages. And when I was younger, I was embarrassed. It's hard to pronounce for that many. It was less common. Like I would go dentist, doctor, anything like that, and it was just not pronounced correctly. Yeah, like when my name was called, it was sometimes is that me? I kind of had to question it, and then I was like, oh yeah, they're just not pronouncing it correctly. And like you said, I kind of would move on from it, but I should have thought more of it, I guess, to consideration that you have to speak up for yourself like your classmates did for you, and just kind of repeat yourself. It's going to take a few times, but it's required. And it wasn't until I reached like university when I met even more cultures and realized other people had names that I couldn't pronounce, but it took them telling me how to pronounce their name, practicing it, for me to know how to pronounce their name. So it's just asking and the other person telling you and just comprehending that this is their name and you cannot take their identity from them by changing their name. Yeah, I know that there will always be names I won't be able to pronounce the first time, but it really has helped me know the importance of asking for the correct pronunciation. And I know now that my come from, and I'm now proud of my last name and how it's supposed to be pronounced. Yeah, that's my story.
Thank you for your experience. I completely agree that, maybe you're not going to get a name right every time, but especially living in somewhere like Davis, I mean, it means a lot just to like try to get it right, and make the effort to like know someone's name. Because you're right, you can't really get to know someone. I think we saw a video. You can't really get to know someone if you're not even going to get to know their name, like how they conduct and identify themselves.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Sorry. Like the fact that like, how do you expect, what Joey brought up, how do you expect someone to like respond to that if you're not even like making the effort to get their name right or try to learn how to pronounce it,
It's like a baseline respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that ties back to...
my...
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go for it.
I guess like I said respect, and that made me think of like linguistic supremacy, you know, people thinking that like their language deserves more respect over another, or like one pronunciation or one like way of speaking is like superior than another.
Yeah.
And I guess it all ties into how our names are a way of like sort of beating out that linguistic supremacy, because at the end of the day, even if you're not going to learn another language or another culture, like you at least have to, you know, accept how someone wants to be identified as, you know, and make an effort to do that. You know, that's like our first step to beating linguistic supremacy and acknowledging the negative impacts. Sorry if I cut anyone off. Yeah.
Did you want to take your story? Like, Katherine, did you have a story, or did you want to?
No, you can go ahead and tell yours.
I guess my story is, I have a lot, but for my birth name, on my birth certificate, it says Selena, but I don't typically go by that because I don't like it. Like, it's very Hispanic sounding, and my family's not that, like, at all. Like, I'm literally Afghan, I'm Cambodian, two different cultures mixed up, and my dad's the one that named me, but he was like obsessed with the singer, but it's spelled completely different and has nothing. It does no correlation. Like, no one has ever said like, "Oh, you named after the singer," or like named after like whatever.
Yeah.
Instead, like, I got like made fun of for being compared to Selena Gomez. Again, not the same spelling, completely different. And I have no like cultural ties to it. Like, I just dropped it. And at one point, like during Christmas, like he made a Christmas card with all our names on it, and he spelled my name wrong. And I was like, how did you, who named me, spell my name wrong? Like, you were the one who did all this.
Yeah.
So then, like, towards high school, I changed my name to Ciel, and it was literally from like a French class, like how in certain like language classes you have to like change your name to something more culturally relevant. That's another story. But this one kind of stuck because it has like the same letters of my original name. So I was like, oh, like it's shorter, like I like it. It's not something super different. I'm not getting rid of the name. I'm just kind of upcycling it. I just did not like that name. And even coming to Davis, I'm glad that like there's a preferred name section, because that name is just ick for me.
Yeah. Thank you for your story.
I really appreciate like, oh, sorry.
No,
but I really appreciate like anyone just trying to learn my name. And, you know, I'll get like a lot of comments like, oh, like, how do you pronounce it? Because they will, like, they're not going to assume how to pronounce it, but like they'll just ask like, oh, like, it's a cool name, or like, at least like you did something to change it. Like, you can always adjust, especially that you can tell people your background, and like it's an important step to respect like someone you're referring to someone with that, like, as a title in a sense.
Yeah.
And it really just the first step into making new friends or introductions with people. So yeah, that's my story.
I think that's really relevant.
As an Asian student, I have experienced many microaggressions because of linguistic supremacy. For example, when I first had class abroad, almost all of my teachers and classmates around me were surprised that I could speak English fluently, and that surprised me for this. I felt uncomfortable about this at the beginning, and I once didn't understand why they were so surprised, although they praised my English. I captured their potential ideas that Asian students usually cannot speak English well, which is essentially a denial of our ability to learn a language, especially English. In fact, many of my Asian classmates will face such situations as me. They were usually praised, "You do not speak like Chinese, you speak like a native speaker," or "Your English is better than many other Japanese." It seems that we receive many prizes, but as a whole group who are not English native speakers, we are under microaggression, so we certainly will feel uncomfortable for this kind of prizes. What's more, when I discussed this topic with my Chinese friends, she shared her experience of microaggression in school with me. Once in her law teacher's class, the law teachers insisted on calling the Chinese students Chinese names because she thinks their names have special meanings and calling their Chinese names is a kind of respect. However, my Chinese friend insisted that the teacher can just call her English name because it is easier to remember and it is obviously more convenient. They argued about it for quite some time. My Chinese friend told me that although the law teacher didn't have bad intentions, she still feels uncomfortable about it. Seems that the teacher's behavior was showing respect. But sometimes making a difference and treating students in different ways is kind of harmful. Actually, I used to often hear my Chinese classmates referred to as people from China by teachers in classes. It seems that they didn't even have a name in the classes. I also have similar experiences outside school. For example, when I go to luxury stores with my Asian or minority classmates, we are often ignored and get the cold shoulder when we ask the prices. This is because we speak English with a certain accent, which makes some shop assistants think that we are from a relative background area and have low consumption power.
Thank you. Thank you so much.